Welcome to The Crunch, the only podcast that's high on the spice. It's your boy, Ethan.
And I'm Patrick. The Crunch is a Catholic comedy podcast where Ethan and I have an informal conversation about a Catholic topic. We think more people should have conversations like this and have fun while they do it. We're glad you're here. Thanks for joining us.
This is a podcast where we get high on spice. That's the only thing we do.
I'm trying to do more introductory stuff to the podcast. I feel like we need to introduce new listeners more.
I'm trying to do more time-bending psychedelic future drugs. That's what I'm trying to do.
I'm trying to join the I'm trying to join the Bene Gesserit. I've only ever read it. I don't know what do you say it?
I think it's a G. It's a G. It's Bene Gesserit.
Bene Gesserit.
Yeah. Anyway, it's Dune season. If you're not aware, it's the sands
time,
of time are blowing in from the north, and I'm really excited. The movie's coming out in like a week. All the people are watching the reviews, or the reviewers are watching it. And they're giving it good reviews. I'm rereading the book, so I'm back in the lore. I'm back into the depths of the Dune tale. And I don't know. I'm back. I've got my sci-fi hat on. I'm thinking of getting. There's a German worm. Let me explain. There's a guy who made a poster for the German release of the 1984 version of Dune, and the poster is really cool, and it's different than the American art for it. But you can get. I want to get it. I want to put it here next to John Paul II, because I think that those two are important. We get to do a Dune worm here, JP2, Ocean's 11, and then maybe like a UFO right here. And I think that would complete. Then everybody would know what I'm about instantly.
Who you are, in 4 easy steps.
Yeah, I think that'd be a ton of fun.
Say who you are without downloading any new photos into your camera roll.
Yes, and it would just be me amongst my friends.
Amongst your friends, John Paul II,
yes.
The Dune poster, Ocean's 11,
Danny Ocean, and the UFO from
Frank Ocean,
X-Files,
and
Frank Ocean. I love.
I'm excited for the Dune movie. I think the Dune movie was the last movie I saw in theaters before my son was born.
Really? I'm trying to.
Was it 2022?
It came out in 2021, actually.
Oh, never mind then.
Yeah, so I think. It came out, I'm pretty sure, October 21, maybe December, maybe got pushed to December 21. So it was somewhere around there.
Yeah, never mind. I think it was, because I did not watch many movies in 2022.
Yeah, I think it was before we got pregnant with Peter. So it was. Yeah. So I think I've seen other movies in theaters, but I can't imagine. I think I saw Nope in theaters with my friend of mine.
Okay.
But since then, we haven't, since Peter's been born, you don't go to movies. This is what people don't tell you. This might factor into your decision to have a child, but you don't get to go to movies anymore. It's just for like a while. We're getting it. Thankfully, we live next to our friends, and so I can just take the monitor, do. Here you go, and then we can just go and do whatever. But not everybody has that luxury.
I've watched movies.
Yeah, tons.
Yeah, I've watched movies.
Tons.
But getting a sitter, even getting your parents for even someone for free is like, why would you waste? For me, it's like, I don't want to waste that night, I would much
doing
rather...
something that you enjoy. What a waste.
No. Like, they're just sitting watching a movie out of all things,
Oh, yeah.
It's just...
Well, but are you a big movie guy?
Unless it was a huge movie that I was super excited about.
Just the largest movie, biggest screen, biggest chairs.
Absolutely massive movie.
IMAX?
I'm not getting a sitter for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. No, that's not.
I saw that movie on a plane. That is a plane movie. That is the epitome of a plane movie, because it's
such a shame.
The only reason you should ever watch Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is if you're stuck on a tube 3 miles in the air. That's the only reason to do it.
Did we watch it? You watched it on the way to Israel, right?
I think it was somewhere on the way back on one of the legs.
Okay. One of the legs.
Yeah, I don't remember, but so I'm big in my sci-fi. I watched, because there was a big Starship Troopers discourse going on Twitter the other day. Did you see this?
And they only poop. Yeah.
Yeah. So I rewatched Starship Troopers, so that was enjoyable. So I'm kind of back. I'm like kind of in my bag, I guess.
Yeah, dude.
Kind of in my.
I read a book that is classified as sci-fi in the library, but it's more high fantasy. We talked about it. I finished.
Oh,
I finished the Mistborn
Was I right
book.
in the way that I presented it to you? Was
You
my
were
prediction
right
correct?
in that character, but I was
Yeah.
happy that character wasn't as important as you made him out to be.
No, he's not that important. He's just annoying. I'm sure he's more
Yeah.
important in the other books, but anyway.
Yeah, but I really liked the book.
Patrick read Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson.
Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson.
You're officially welcome. Hey, welcome aboard to the Midwit Society. You've made it.
Yep. I'm reading. See, I didn't read a lot of popular fiction books back in the day, and every time I discover one, Ethan is like, "Oh yeah, I've read it already."
No, that's not
kind
true.
of funny. Yeah, no,
That's
I
not
was like,
true.
Hey, I started reading the Expanse series. He's like, oh yeah. It kind of falls off after the third book, and I'm like, stop telling me that.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be that guy. It's just it's actually surprising because you and I are so different in many ways.
Yes.
Physically, emotionally, spiritually, economically. We don't share a lot. But then when it comes to like reading fiction books, there's kind of this little overlap that we share that we don't explore very often because we never read fiction books.
Yeah.
You know, and when we do, we're forcing ourselves to read Victor Hugo's The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and it's not going
to many
well.
people's dismay.
Yeah,
The problem with you
chagrin.
and I is that when we overlap on something, you usually have the upper hand, and so I hate it.
What does that mean?
Like when I tried chess, you were like, "You idiot! You don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah,
or now I
true.
have to debate someone, and you're like, "This is your bag
This
too."
is what you should do.
And you're like, "Come on, you have to do some cross X," and I'm like, "I don't ride a skateboard. I don't know what that even means."
I think it's just that I've dabbled in quite a few many hobbies.
Indeed.
You know, so you have the upper hand on a lot of other things too. To be fair, I
like when we stay in those areas.
Yeah, but I think we should. The problem is you have the upper hand. You have the upper hand on things that like matter. You know, and I have the upper hand on like being good at chess and having read some science fiction books. It's like not really that important of a thing to have an upper hand on. You know.
No, it is. You have the upper hand when it comes to DreamWorks movies. You have the upper hand when it comes to chess, formal debate,
Fortnite,
American football, Fortnite,
just video games in general. I think I lap you.
Yeah,
easily.
I think if we played Smash Bros, it would go poorly for me.
It would go poorly, even if we played something simple. Like if you and me, I'm thinking about. I've got a lot of trains of thought going on here, so you're going to bear with me. They're making a new college football game. This is a big news in the video game world because the last college football game that they made was in 2014, and they stopped making it because it was like they ran out. The deal with the NCAA stopped working, so they couldn't put the college players in the video game anymore and sell it. But now that they can pay the kids, they're like, we're going to bring the game back. So I'm thinking that I'm gonna probably. I haven't tested this with my wife yet, so she's in the other room. She's hearing this for the first time. I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to be
just spitballing here. Let's try and see what happens.
I haven't really thought about it too deeply, but I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go full time, and I'm going to try to get K-State to win a national championship in under 24 hours of gameplay. You know, I'm going to see if I can do it. It might not be possible, but I think with the skills that I've been given in my life, I think I can do it.
I think you can do it. I'm proud
Stream
of you.
live on our Twitch channel.
Is this in addition to, or is it in replacement of Monkey Mondays?
I think if I played a college football game on Monkey Mondays and called it Monkey Mondays, some people might take it the wrong way.
That's fair. Hey, speaking of faux pas, live on did you see what Raymond Arroyo said on Fox News?
I did. Raymond. You can't say that, buddy.
Raymond, you can't be saying things
Raymond,
such as this.
You cannot say that, man. Dude.
This month.
Tell him what he said, Patrick.
Pee Wee Herman looking guy gets on national television and he's
Fox.
doing election analysis, which brother,
yeah, no.
who are you to be analyzing an election? You're just a guy. Come on, man. You write children's books. Like, who are you? And they're talking about the black vote, which
Kirkland's Rick Riordan is what he is. Raymond, if you hear this, I love you. I'd love to come on your show.
They're talking about you. You deserve everything that's about to happen to you. In this podcast, you've earned this.
We've set our laser beam on you. He's talking about the black
vote with 3 other white people on Fox News, which they should know by now that that's not a good look.
I don't think.
And
he
care. Goes, and they pop. They just apparently Trump released sneakers.
They sold out instantly. I went to go buy one or buy a pair, and they were just gone. I was like, man, I was really looking forward to spending that $399.
Raymond Arroyo goes, oh wow, he must be doing really well with black people then on television.
Yep,
crazy.
He said, quote, they love sneakers, as if it was like. Just
and you could see Tommy Lahren. You could see Tommy Lahren move on. Like, do you think that people that bought the sneakers, like, she very much like brings it back because she's smart?
It's crazy that Tommy Lahren is the one that is.
I know
that is setting a baseline of normalcy on the Fox News program.
I saw that, dude.
Oh, it's funny. Poor Raymond. Raymond, I would like to. This is a formal invitation, Raymond. If you'd like to come on Monkey Mondays and make amends for what you've done, we could play. What's a game with? We could play Donkey Kong Country, and we could sit side by side, and I'll hand you a Nintendo 64 controller, and you'll pretend to not know what it is, because that's what every old person does when you hand them a video game controller. It's like, the stick you move, the buttons.
You move the stick. Come on, this. You've had decades to figure out what an N64 controller does,
and we can talk it through. This is a problem I always had with my father. My father is an incredibly intelligent man. Works as a high level, web developer, web architect for a large technology company. Done it for decades. You hand him a PlayStation controller and he goes, "I wish there was only one button." Dad, what do you mean you wish there was only one button? You code in Kubernetes all day.
You have to be able to do multiple things.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
And I've seen you operate an entire computer out of the command line, and you're wishing for a singular button on the controller. How can you? I just don't understand. You just got to think about it. Think about it like it's the computer, Dad. Anyway, that's a problem I have with my dad on the podcast.
That's really funny.
Yeah,
good for him.
Poor guy. He's a good guy.
Poor Raymond.
What were we talking about? We were talking about video games. We were talking about things that I'm better at than you. Let's keep going on that.
Yeah. Sorry.
Let's
get back to the task at hand.
I really enjoyed that part of the show.
I think we should do more of that.
I think it maybe should become.
Bring back Pittsburgh news and ways that Ethan is smarter than Patrick.
Yeah, kind of a superiority Saturday segment.
Yeah, I think that's important for us. I think that's important for our brand.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a question before we go into the topic for today.
Sure, lay it on me.
My parochial vicar, the priest, the young priest at our parish, it's his birthday today.
Okay.
And Phoebe
I'm not
and
singing happy birthday to this guy on the podcast.
Phoebe and I were trying to be like, okay, what do we get Father Zach for his birthday? And I thought priests get food all the time, and they get Jesus-y things all the time. So I was like, what do you get a priest? Alcohol, what do you get a priest? And I was like, we should get him a book, but like not a book about God. We should get him a book about ornithology.
Does he like birds?
Not as far as I know.
Okay, that's really funny then.
Thank you.
That's great.
But like, because I was like imagining the thought that goes through his head, right? Like, he gets the book, and we're just giving the book. Here you go, Father. Like, happy birthday. And he opens like, did I indicate that I like birds? Or like, he comes up to us later, like, hey, are you guys like super into bird watching? Like, no. Why would you ask us that?
What do you mean?
And then I was thinking, or on the flip side, I was thinking about doing one of my favorite, mentally my favorite jokes. Never actually done it, but buying like a card that's for a little kid, like happy 9th birthday to my favorite nephew, and crossing out the words instead of saying it, like crossing it out so it says like 29 instead of 9.
Oh yeah.
And crossing out nephew and putting parochial vicar, but has
Yeah.
like a monkey on or a transformer. I think that's
funny.
a really funny joke.
That is a good one.
I wanted to do it for your wedding, but Phoebe said
Ah.
no.
Oh, come on.
I
That
know.
would've
That's
been
what I said. Happy, it's
We
like
get married
happy
once.
8th birthday, like happy wedding to my favorite podcast co-host.
That would have been great. That would have been a card to remember.
I know. It'd have been great.
So I think you should you should do something like you should do that and the bird book. You know?
I think it'd be really funny to do that and the bird book.
I think if the priest has a good sense of humor, he'll appreciate it. Have you considered getting him a carton
Norm
of cigarettes?
So. That's what Father Anthony said.
Yeah.
When it was like, what do you get me for my birthday? He said cigarettes.
Cigarettes. Yeah.
And that was what I was telling Phoebe we should do.
There are a lot of priests out there that appreciate like a pack of Camel Crushes for their birthday. You know, like it's
get me Black and Milds.
Get me some Newports. Something. You know, I think
get me through the week.
Us younger people, we've been conditioned to think like, oh, I don't even know how to buy. Cigarettes and a scratch off ticket. You know, the old trailer park special. Priests love that.
I love that. This is the song of our people. This is the traditional gift of of Florida.
Yeah.
You get someone a stack of lottery tickets, a stack of scratchers, a carton of cigarettes, and something made of gator skin.
Is he on the Zins?
No, he's not a tobacco guy. He's
not a tobacco guy at all.
He used to smoke a lot,
so it would be a temptation to get him a.
Yeah,
it would be rather rude.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like getting a Playboy for a recovering sex addict type.
It would be like getting heroin for a recovering shopaholic.
It'd be like getting heroin for anyone.
Anybody.
Here's this really addictive substance.
I saw this
Check
Reddit post that was like, I think I'm not addicted to heroin. Is heroin that big of a deal? He was like, my friends and I do it every Friday. Yeah. This is not real. I just do it every week with my friends. This is no big deal.
Dude, I read probably the craziest Substack article. I'll say this quick and we can do the topic.
Yeah.
This is really interesting. So we might have to bust this open on a bonus show sometime on Patreon. Patreon.com/thecrunch. But I read this. It was really well written. And it's this guy from Memphis, and he has 3 friends. And he just shared the story about how, they went to college, but they dropped out, and they were just kind of working, decent jobs, but they're getting laid off. Like, the economy wasn't great. They were doing okay, scraping by. And one of them started to get into military surplus. And then, like, because of that, they all started to they would like go to the gun range and they would shoot together. And then some guy, like his grandpa died and he inherited the land. So they would go out and like shoot on the land together. And it became this thing that like they all did because they didn't have like anything else to do. Like this was their social group. And so they got more and more into this world. And they eventually were like, we should like take a class on they took a class with like a SWAT instructor on how to clear rooms together and on how to, cover each other. And they started wearing armor and they started doing all these things. They got really, really into it. Right.
Yeah.
And they're sitting around the bonfire one day and they're talking and they're talking about how they live in Memphis and there's not enough police. Like one of them was a cop for a while and an older cop was like, you got to get out of here. Like you're going to be either laid on the altar as a sacrifice to the media or you're going to get killed. Like there's no pension. Just get out. Like, why are you sticking around? And so they realize like, man, there's not enough police force and there's these drug dealers all over that are just ruling this place.
Yeah.
And they're all short on cash. And so they make a decision. They're like, we're going to go take down a drug house. So they have all of this, they've been training for a year and they go in, and I'm not like saying this is the right thing to do, but they go in and they kill the drug dealers and they take all the money and all of the gold, like, and all the chains and everything that they have in the house. They melt down the chains, they sell them like to jewelry brokers or whatever. They split the cash 4 ways. They each made like 10 grand or something like that. And they like haven't done it again since, but they're like, maybe we just do this again. And we just start taking down all of the drug dealers in Memphis and like making some money. And it was like, it was honestly, it was something I was reading it and I was like, I couldn't believe what I was reading. Like, I can't believe this just got retweeted onto my timeline. And this is something that's just happening somewhere in America right now.
just do that a few times, and you got yourself a small business.
That's right. Easily scalable, you know. Uh, just train more guys, go to more cities,
hit bigger drug dealers.
Yeah, but I was just so shocked.
I'm sorry. You're saying those drug dealers only had $40,000 in their house.
Yes.
Were they bad at drug dealing?
I would assume so. Yes. I don't think they started off with a big high level.
That's probably fair.
House. You know.
That's probably fair.
And they split it. Yeah, split it 4 ways. You got a deal. They had to put some money. They like bought a van. And they like painted the van and got fake plates and they did all these things that like
the LLC
that cost them
set up too. That's a problem.
a couple of grand. Anyway, it was just a really crazy article, and I think there's some interesting implications for that and what that would mean.
Hey,
you know,
I mean
the nature of justice and you know all of that stuff. I think is really cool. But we should talk about it on a bonus show because it's who knows what my opinions on that are going to be. So I don't want to work it out here on this public forum.
I don't want you to do it either. No. I have a topic I want to know your thoughts on.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tangentially related
to
drug dealing and vigilante justice. It's not.
Yes,
it's not really related.
Oh, okay.
It's making money, I guess. But I
You came into a bit of money.
I have a day job where I do sales things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's a hard job sometimes. Yesterday was easy. Today was not. Tomorrow's probably going to be middle. You know, it's like up and down, up and down, up and down. And I was praying on Monday, and I was like, God, please make my job easier. You know, like, can you make the rain come? Can you I'll do the work. Can you just multiply the work is what I was praying. Yeah. And then the next morning I was reflecting on my day since I had made that prayer. And that day was hard. It was a difficult day. Doors slamming in my face. Not literally. I don't knock on doors, but calls hung up, no's all over the place. And I remember just feeling defeated, but I did it, and then I'm up and I'm ready to do it the next day. And it reminded me of I was thinking about this and I came to the conclusion. I was like, it was the wrong thing to pray for. You know, can you make my work easier? It's like, why would you make the work easier when I can just make you stronger so the work feels the same? You know, it feels easier because you are stronger. And it's like, then you can do harder and more difficult things and then have the same thing. Like if God just made everything easy for you, then I would never grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just been thinking about that. I know I would so much more prefer that, actually.
Yeah. You've hit upon something that I deeply struggle with.
Yeah.
Because I hate getting better at things, which contradicts what we were talking about at the beginning. Obviously, I'm so good at video games and chess and having read science fiction books. You'd think that I have worked to be good at these things. But a lot of the things in my life that I'm good at, I just kind of had a natural affinity for, you know? And it's contrary to what popular belief. It doesn't really take that much skill to get good at video games, you know, things of that nature.
It takes skill to get good at chess.
Sure, but not really.
Getting to 1,000 is fine. It's easy.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Anybody can get to 1,000 on Blitz Chess. 3 minutes. Time controls. Challenge me. Bropostle1 on chess.com.
Was Bropostle taken?
By me, and then I lost the password to that account. So I made
bummer.
Bropostle1. Yeah, brutal. But I have this hard time because it's like I pray that I'm like, God, give me the grace to do the things that I need to do. Because I know that you're going to provide and I have to cooperate with it. But then when it actually comes time to cooperate with him, I just have the hardest time actually doing it. Mm-hmm. And I've suffered from that multiple times. I've faced a ton of consequences from my lack of cooperation with God. And he's always come back and provided for me, but it's certainly not been a pleasant experience. Mm-hmm. And so hearing you say oh yeah, it was a really hard day, but God is making me stronger. I don't think I've ever like truly engaged in that. I don't think.
Really?
And that's like a scary thing. Cause it's like, I feel like I'm good enough without him making me stronger, which I think is probably not
Not what
where,
you want. Yeah.
not where he wants me to be. But I think it's exactly where Satan wants me to be.
Mm.
You know, this like lukewarmness, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it all came together. It's just this morning when I was on the Instagram
Mm-hmm.
and the Alex Hormozy popped up with like a quote thing, and he like
Yeah.
referenced the Bible, and I was like, oh,
He did. I
interesting.
saw that. Yeah. I was
Yeah,
like,
he
man, you're
usually
reading the
doesn't
Bible
do
again?
that.
Get back in
Good
here.
for you, man. Get back in
Come
there.
on. Water's fine.
I know. He was like, God in the Bible, God gave Adam a job before he gave him a wife. And he's like, the work is important, and he said the work works on you more than you work on it.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of been my guiding star recently. Is like, it doesn't, the results matter,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're consistently not hitting the results, it means you're doing something wrong. But on the granular term, it's like, okay, you didn't hit the results today, that's fine, but did you do the work? You know, what I used to, the way I in my job, I have metrics. So, and I was like, if I hit one of the metrics, I'm fine. Like if I do
Mm-hmm.
an hour of calls, or if I do 45 calls, or if I get 3 appointments set up, then I feel like I'm fine. But in reality, it should be, once I hit all of those things, like not only have I gotten 3 yeses, but I also dialed for 45. I also called 45 people, and I did it for an hour. So like, if I haven't dialed for an hour, I should keep calling. I'll probably get more appointments. I'll probably call more people, right? It's like, I've already got my 3 yeses in 15 calls. Sometimes that happens. I should keep going so that when I have a
Mm-hmm.
deficit, I've stored up, because like the
Yeah.
work is important. And if I don't do the work, I get sloppy. I get worse at my job. I had to
Mm-hmm.
consistently put in the work. And if, because it's not about the appointments, it's not about the calls, it's not about the sales. It's about me doing the thing that makes me more. It's probably virtue. It's probably virtuous. It's probably a
Yeah.
virtue, right? Like fortitude,
Totally. Mm-hmm.
Prudence,
Mm-hmm.
justice, taking down drug houses.
Yeah. I was thinking we could start doing that. That was kind of going
I
to be my
think
ask to you, was that we start training.
Welcome to the Crunch, the only podcast that
Yeah.
engages in vigilante justice
Ooh,
with
that's pretty
military
good.
surplus equipment. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
fun.
that's hard. I'll, if I may,
You,
use a
hey,
workout analogy,
ooh, love those.
but it's not an analogy because I actually work out. So this is just an experience that I can discuss.
Yeah.
So I was lifting yesterday. I've had a crazy week. Like one of the busier weeks that I've had in a long time, because I have like a lot of work to do. You know, I have things that I have to do for Patrick that I have not finished yet. I haven't started yet. I have a lot of things for my job. Like today, my job, I wrote an ebook today from 0 to
You
10,
had a lot to do. Yeah.
and I have to write another one tomorrow. So, which is we're a little bit behind. So we're doing a lot of crunch time work to get ahead, and it's good. But it wasn't that long, like if I probably, like in terms of word count,
GPT?
no, I used Notion. I wrote about 1,000 words. So it's like,
Okay.
it wasn't, it's like more, it's less of an ebook and more of like I don't know what you'd call it. It's a premium content offering. It's like a more in-depth blog that gives people an insight into what my company does. Right. But anyway, so I was working out. I've been busy. So I was working out in the evening yesterday, which I normally don't do, but that was the only time I had to do it. It was like 8:00 after dinner. Peter goes down, kitchen's cleaned up. It's like, okay, I need to work out. I haven't worked out in like 2 days. And I did something different because my back has been hurting. And so I'm like, oh, I got to stop with the back. And I didn't even realize that I was doing this. But like when I would squat, right? A lot of times, especially I do like 4 sets of squats. So I do 2 warm-up sets and then 2 working sets. So when you get to the working sets with the heaviest weight, it's like, it's hard to do it. And it doesn't feel good because it feels like when I'm going up, I'm just trying to describe this for people who maybe don't squat, but like when you're going up, it feels like, even though you have the strength in your legs, it feels like you could get stopped at any moment. like I'm going up, but I don't know if I'm going to make it because this is heavy and I'm like doing my heaviest lift and I'm like tired and it's 8 p.m. And so it's easy when you get like halfway up to like lift with your back to take some of the pressure off your legs.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I do it without even realizing that I'm doing it. Like I just cheat a little bit to get done with the rep because I want to do the rep. And so, and I noticed my back was hurting. So I was like, all right, well, clearly I'm doing something wrong. So I need to focus on just allowing my legs to do the work, which is kind of difficult. Like this is like a hard thing to do when you've got you're moving and you're doing all these things. It's not easy if you haven't done it for a long time. So I really focused. And when I would get to a point where I was like, man, this really sucks. And I feel like I'm stuck. I just like kept pushing with my legs and I was able to do it. Like I was able to get to the top every single time. I was walking around today, no pain in my back. I was like, oh, that's great. But I think this applies because like we get in these situations where we have to work or we have to suffer or we have to sacrifice and we choose to like lift with the back, instead of with the muscle that like we're supposed to be using, know? And so if you're at work, it's easy to maybe take a shortcut or procrastinate. Or if you're with your family, it's easy to maybe like not pay that close of attention or just kind of do the bare minimum to maintain the relationship. It's like be on your phone when you're with your kid instead of just like being with your kid. Or I'm trying to think of other examples, but like not choosing silence and like choosing to, even if it's a 5-minute break, like popping on music or a podcast or something when you could just be sitting in silence and waiting for the next thing to start. Like there's lots of these moments throughout your day where it's easy to lift with your back instead of like using the muscle that's like that you're working in that moment. But I think
it like tricks you into the lifting with your back tricks you into the feeling of completion. And it's like, okay, I got the rep done, but it's not about the rep. It's about doing the rep well. You good?
I'm good. Sorry. I was just,
okay.
I need to turn my phone on do not disturb.
Podcast.
And it makes you think that you can do more than you can actually do too. So it's like, it's not just like you get the rep done and you're like, oh yeah, like I did it. I made it across the finish line. I finished this thing, even though maybe it took me twice as long. Or I had a great day with my family, even though I was half as present as I should be. Whatever the thing is, it like makes you think that you're more capable than you actually are. When in reality, if you like shrunk it down and you just suffered for a little bit, then your capacity would actually increase in the actual, and that's like what you were talking about. Like if I actually did the hour or if I actually did the 45 calls, then I could have 6 instead of 3. And like, that's really exciting. But then it's like, you actually get there and you're like, I'm done with this rep. I'm just going to, and then put the bar down and go, drink a protein shake. Cause that's the only reason I work out anyways, to get that delicious beautiful chocolate protein shake at the end.
Well, it's funny because I think sales metrics are really, in every organization, they have sales metrics, right? So it's like you call this many people, you'll get this many appointments, this many will show, this many will buy. And so people kind of rest in those. And I think what people don't, so let's say like, let's say your calls are you're supposed to do 50 and you'll get 5 appointments, et cetera, right? And someone gets to 4 and they're like, well, I've almost gotten it, right? I'm almost there.
80%.
But then you do that every day. So like that's you're almost there, but 4 out of 5, what is that? That's a B. That's a B. That's 80%. So you're doing 80% of the work. You keep doing that, you're gonna get there 80% as quick. And so then you're gonna you're off by a degree, you're gonna get so far away. And then in the future, you're like, well, why are my numbers not as high? It's like, well, it's because you were doing 4 instead of 5. I think that happens in every sales organization. And I think it's just a human thing where it's like, well, I almost did it. Like I basically did it.
Yes.
But you're tricking, and then you're like,
go ahead.
You're tricking yourself into thinking that you've finished the rep. You're tricking yourself into thinking you've done your job. You're tricking yourself because you've done your bare minimum, but the bare minimum is actually below the minimum.
Yes.
Anyway,
I've done this my whole life. I'm thinking of a specific instance where I was 13. I had to mow the yard. I've probably talked about this on the podcast before.
I don't think you have.
I had to mow the yard. In order to mow the yard, you have to back the van out of the garage because you can't. So you had 2 cars in the garage. The mower was here. So like to get the mower out, you got to back the van out to get the mower out. And so I backed the van out, and I don't leave myself enough room between the van and I think we had this huge pot with a non-defined plant in it that was maybe alive half the time. And I tried to squeeze through. I thought I had enough space. I could have moved the pot and I could have backed the van up another 3 feet, but I didn't. Mm-hmm. I tried to squeeze the mower through because I was like, I got enough room. And I am 13, so I'm like, I'm just trying to get it done as fast as possible, right? Like I'm trying to get the lawn mowed so I can go inside so I can play World of Warcraft. That's what I wanted to do. That was my whole life back then. And so I pushed the mower through and I get a huge scratch on like the front bumper of the van. And so like naturally my parents are upset. I'm like, it's not a big deal. You can't even see it. And like now I recognize like why my dad was so upset, because it wasn't about the scratch per se. Like he was mad about the scratch, but it's like the fact that you didn't even have the ability to like stop and move the pot a foot to the left, or the van. You could have done either of them. They would have taken 30 seconds, and it would not have materially impacted the amount of time it would have taken you to get done with the job. Mm-hmm. But like I still struggle with that whole concept of like I have this thing and I just need to get it done as painlessly as possible. And I don't know if women experience this in the same way. I'm thinking about our female audience that maybe who don't experience work in the same way that men do. But like, that's where I feel I'm always just trying to like minimize pain in every situation that I'm in. Even this Lent so far, I'm eating cinnamon rolls. What am I doing?
Why am I eating cinnamon rolls?
I mean, Emma made them, and I was like, well, if she made them, then I have to eat them. But because otherwise they'll go to waste, and what can you do? But like, I'm so afraid of pain.
It is the curse of Adam. This is what by the sweat of your brow will you eat your bread. It's like that's what God says to Adam. And he says to Eve, like, with pain you will bring forth children. And those are two things that we have successfully tried to remove all of the pain out of, right?
Yeah.
It's
just in Patrick officially against epidurals. Big opposition to medicated childbirth. You heard it here first.
No comment on medicated childbirth. However, I do wish that providers would be a little more accepting of women who don't want medicated childbirth. I would appreciate it if I would appreciate some consistency if we're gonna be all pro. Never mind.
Yeah, it is crazy. It is crazy how even like Catholic hospitals, you have to jump through so many hoops to like, just do things like there's no, I don't know. It's crazy when you get there, people out there, it's crazy. And if you had a kid, you know.
Yeah, it's wild because like my wife has had natural childbirth before, and she's done the rigmarole.
Oh, and she's rigmaroled for sure.
And they're like, well, statistically, it's more risky that this will happen and this will happen if we don't have constant invasive monitoring and all this stuff. She's like, I'm not a statistic. I've done this before.
Yeah.
Tell me, it's like, this is not my first birth. It's like, statistically, it'll be very similar to last time because that's how probabilities work, is that it's the same person in the same situation.
There should be, I know some hospitals have like birthing centers or whatever, but I think we should build like little huts outside of hospitals where it's like, if you really want, you can go in the hut and you can give birth and we'll take the baby inside, I think that'd be good for everybody.
It's just absolutely,
it's like, we won't bother you. We're not going to yell at you. Just go to the hut and you can come inside anytime. You can go back out, but like, we have a hut for you.
We have a hut for you. It's liability. It's just, it's so funny. It's like, I mean, she is in the hospital already.
Yeah.
So already great spot to be.
Good place.
A Western hospital. Good place to give birth.
Yes.
So she's like better off than most women, but they act that if you like don't have an IV constantly attached to you, and they don't have like an electrode, they're like, you're basically giving birth in a third world country in like a poop filled river. Like that's how they treat you. And they look at you like you have 3 heads, and they go, "Are you sure you are going to vaccinate your kids, right?" Like that's not the conversation we're having right now. I just want my wife to feel comfortable when she's having our child. This is a normal thing, anyway. Tangent aside, can you tell that we're dealing with this right now?
I can tell that you're dealing.
Justice for Phoebe. She's so sweet, and she deserves more.
Hashtag justice for Phoebe.
Hashtag justice for Phoebe. I I bring that up because it's like it's the same. It might not sound like the same thing, but it is the same thing because they're deeply tied together in Genesis. It's like Adam is called to work and
Mm-hmm.
Eve is called to bring forth children, and the consequence of the fall is directly related to those things. Like Adam's work will be difficult, and Eve's labor will be difficult. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of time and energy is spent trying to make those things not true anymore, to undo
Right.
the effects of the fall
Mm-hmm.
while maintaining the quote unquote benefits, because there really aren't many.
Yeah.
Um, trying to maintain the benefits of work without the sweat, and trying to maintain the benefits of childbirth without the pain, right?
I think
Um,
that's hard for
yeah.
me, that like knowledge work. Like I don't sweat when I work, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, I sweat, but it's just because this room gets so dang hot during the day.
When you're in there cooking some
I mean,
content on
well, yeah,
your little content kitchen,
the
you
smoke's
know?
coming out of my head because
Yeah.
the gears are stuck. But it's difficult because we're removed from work in the sense that they meant work when the Bible was written. I understand that the Bible
Yes.
applies to all people in all places and all times, and God is everywhere, and Jesus knew that there would be email jobs one day. And so it's immaterial as to
Yeah.
the original intention. But like work as it exists now for a lot of people is not the same even as it was 100 years ago. Like there wasn't really knowledge work in the
Mm-hmm.
20s. I guess like in the same way that there's always been sort of accountants and like those types of people,
Yeah.
but the labor was still vastly physical. And so it's weird now to be in this place of like the sweat of my brow to really engage in the work of Adam and to like suffer with Christ looks just totally different. And it's much
Yeah.
more like a mental, I don't know what the word is.
It's a
Like
mind game, it feels like.
it's not even a game. It's not like a restriction.
That's how
Like I'm
my
not,
work. That's how my work feels.
I don't need to restrict my brain, but I need it to like stay like kind of the virtue of meekness, how like you need to constrain your anger, but instead of like constraining your anger, it's like constraining like your distraction or like all the different avenues that your brain can go down. It's like I need to focus on
Yeah.
one thing and like do this excellently. Like for you, it's like I need to make these calls and do these sales. And for me, it's like I have to write this copy, or I have to make this ad or whatever. And then it's like, but then there's 50 billion jillion other things because it's all through the browser, and like I don't know what that virtue is that like keeps you on the thing, bridled like a horse,
Yeah.
but for your brain instead of for your emotion, like your passions, like meekness for your brain.
Constancy,
Constantine.
continence, not pooping yourself. That might be what it is.
Continents. Antarctica is a continent.
We should move someone there. We should get a Taco Bell there.
We should get Taco Bell there. I've been saying. Do you know, like, that's the virtue that I want to get, but I don't know where that exists in the Bible. I don't know if that is real, or if it's just like, or if I'm like making it sound more glamorous than it needs to be, and it's just like, shut up, just do your work, like Adam, you puny little human boy.
Well, it's difficult with knowledge work because it's like the work is by its nature ill-defined. It's not.
Yeah.
It's very much not. My job is a knowledge work job, but it's nice because there are activities that generate income and activities that do not. But like everybody else at the company, like the billing department and the contract department, it's like they could be working. Like, my coworker Eric, he could be working on a million things. What's the most important thing? Is it the contract that's the most overdue? The contract that owes the most money? Is the contract that is our best? Like who's more important? Or is it his kid crying upstairs? What's more important? It's like it's really difficult. I think like figuring out what's important, being able to prioritize things, and then doing what you'll say. That might be what it is. Like doing what you say you will do and being able to say correctly what you'll do. Like I told someone yesterday I was going to send them an email by 11. And I was like, that's definitely not going to happen. And I was like, I don't know why I said that. It was just not. I should have
Yeah.
known that something was going to happen and this would fall to the bottom of it. Because when some random person says, "Hey, can you send me an email with all the information?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to send you an email with like most of the information that I feel like sending to you, and I'm never going to hear from you again. So I'm not going to waste my time." You know what I mean? But it's like I know this is important, so it falls to the bottom of the list. But I should be a little more.
The pride cometh before the fall, Patrick.
What do you mean?
Well, you saying I'll send you an email by 11. Pride. You
Yeah.
not sending the email. The fall.
The fall. Yeah. I should just have like a standard email that I just copy.
Even Paul Muad'Dib, when he ascends to the emperor and does a jihad on 60 billion people,
crazy.
He too, at the top of his game, must wander out into the desert to atone for his sins. And for the sins of his son that he has created by choosing.
Is Dune 2 also Dune Messiah? Are they throwing
No.
that?
Apparently, what I've heard, the rumors are, is that the ending sets it up for Dune Messiah, but it hasn't officially been greenlit. I'm assuming that this movie is going to do well, and that they're going to make Dune Messiah, and it's going to be a trilogy. I think that's what that's what the director hopes. So
because Dune Messiah is half as long as Dune, and those two books are basically a trilogy.
Yes. Yeah. It's like,
what comes after Dune Messiah? Is it any good? Children of Dune.
Children of Dune. It just gets different after that.
Okay.
It's Dune Messiah is great because it effectively ends Paul's story.
Oh, okay.
And then Children of Dune talks about Paul's son and how Paul's son sets himself up to be the emperor that reigns for 4,000 years when he merges with the sandworm. And that's what the fourth book is about. And then the fifth book is like thousands of years into the future. And the sixth book is, I think, right after that. So there's like a huge time jump after book 4. So it's it gets messy after book 2, basically. Yeah. So I would say if you liked Dune 1, read Dune 2. And if you're a sci-fi freak, read 3 through 6. But if you don't, then stop.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all the Dune talk.
I liked Dune 1. Yeah, I haven't read Dune.
I think you would enjoy Dune 2 because it really shows the ramifications. Like Dune 1 kind of ends and it's like, and now I'm the emperor. And it's kind of this like triumphant thing. I think Frank Herbert was like, not enough people got that this was a warning and like not a good thing that Paul became this emperor. Like none of this should have happened. And so he made Dune Messiah and he was like, hey, by the way, this was all really bad. A lot of people died.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what the second one is about, but it's pretty good. Anyway,
I thought that was the direction that Mistborn was going in, but I was wrong.
Oh yeah, no, I have the second and third one. Do you think I should read the second and third Mistborn? I kind of stopped after the first one because I was like, lame.
I liked the ending.
Yeah.
I liked it. It reminded me of the Ascension.
Sure.
Right. It's like there's no spoilers, but
yeah.
I think you should. Apparently the second Mistborn is the one that he wanted to write first. He wanted to write a story about the revolutionaries after they succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, no,
maybe you should write about the revolution first.
Write about the revolution because people love that nonsense.
Yeah, they do love that. We're Americans, baby.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I want to see.
You know who else was Mistborn?
Creepy...
George Washington.
One of my all-time favorite jokes. The patroness of America is Our Lady of the under the title of the Immaculate Conception.
Yes.
And I like to make a little joke that the reason why we chose that is because the Declaration of Independence was also an Immaculate Conception.
Nice.
That Americans treat, and so that's my little. I didn't land that. It sounded blasphemous when I said it, but
I get what you were trying to say.
I meant it tongue in cheek.
I got you.
Yeah.
I would never laugh at our great nation because I think we've done so much right over the years that it would be foolish to make fun of it.
Agreed.
Donald, if you're listening.
Donald Trump.
I would accept any
Please,
cabinet
Donald
position.
Trump. One of these days, I'm gonna make the meme that's like Protestants, Catholics worship idols, also Protestants. Donald Trump, if you can hear us, please, Donald Trump.
I think that meme has already been made for sure.
Yeah, but I can make it and it'll do better.
Oh, it'll go viral
because people get so pissed on our Instagram.
We're at time. We're gonna do the dating corner next. If you don't know, this is a show that goes up on Sundays, and we talk about whatever we want to talk about, like we did today. And on Wednesdays, we do a dating show where people go into our Discord, which you can access at bit.ly/crunch discord. You got over 1,000 members in there. Greatest online community of Catholics that you could ever find. People ask their dating questions. We have a channel specifically dedicated to dating questions called the Dating Corner. You can get immediate help from our community, and you can get your question featured on the show. And that's
this
how we
week on the Dating Corner. This week on the Dating Corner, we got an update from Jeff from last week. We got a guy who's struggling with being attracted to his girlfriend. We got a guy who's ooh shy, and a guy who's trying to discern his relationship with a girl on a retreat. So stay tuned.
Nice
for our Wednesday episode. Stuff. I thought it'd be nice to put a little teaser in there.
A little bit.
Because it's for us, it's happening in a couple of minutes, but for them, it's
a couple days. They have to wait.
Oh my god!
It's like we've taken the spice and we know what happens in the future.
Yeah,
and they don't.
We crushed up the sandworm.
No, they just
snorted its flesh.
They just have it. They just have it in their coffee. They don't. They just have it in their coffee. They don't really.
Oh,
yeah. Anyway, so check out our Wednesday episode. We also have a Patreon. If you think this episode was worth a couple of bucks, throw us some money on Patreon. That's patreon.com/thecrunch. With $10 a month and up, you get a bonus episode every week that goes out on Fridays. It's like this again, but it's bonus and only the $10 a month patron and up get it. So, Patrick, do you have anything else for the people?
If a worm wore pants, would it? I don't know. I think it's funny to think of a sandworm wearing pants.
Would you still podcast with me if I was a worm?
Yes. Would you still podcast with me if I merged with Shai Hulud?
Shai Hulud. Thank you all for listening. Please pray for us. We will be praying for you, and we will see you all next week.